Ferrus Manus dies in the first hour of the Heresy, not the first century, not the final battle, the first hour. The drop sign massacre on Isstvan V, 7 legions waiting in ambush, Ferrus Manus leads the second wave of loyalists into the trap. Iron Hands, Salamanders, Raven Guards, and when the guns open up every direction, when the brothers turn on brothers, the ground becomes a killing floor. Ferrus Manus does not retreat. He charges, straight at Fulgrim, his closest brother, the one he forged a weapon for, the one he trusted. Fulgrim cut his head off with a single strike of the demon blade and presented to Horus as a trophy. The Iron Hands watched their father die in the first hour of the war, and then they spent 10,000 years of punishing themselves. You ever heard that the flesh is weak? Every 40k fans knows the Iron Hands cut off their own limb and replaced them with metal, cold, calculating machine-like. This is the surface. This is what the Imperium tells you. And this is not a story about the flesh is weak. This is a story about a legion whose sons will watch their father die and decided it was his fault, who turned grief into self-mutilating and called in strange, who never forgave themselves for surviving Isstvan V and never will. Before the Heresy, the Iron Hands were the 10th Legion, and their Primarch was the man who drowned a god with his bare hands. Ferrus Manus landed on Medusa, a death world, a planet of tectonic collapse where the ground splits open and swallows cities, where the city is black and the volcanic ash. In the heart of this world there is a something ancient, a great silver worm called the Astartes, living metal, necrodermis, a creature that may have been a shard of a star god, or something older. Ferrus hunts it, tracks it across the continental fractures, finds it in the lake of liquid metal, and then wrestles it, not with weapons, but with his bare hands. He drowns the worm in the metal lake, and when he emerges the necrodermis has fused to his flesh. His arms are living sealed. He can shape metal with his toes. He became the Gorgon, a Primarch whose very touch is forging. This is Ferrus Manus, hard, unbreakable, a being who believes strange is the only currency that matters. He teaches his legion the same. Flesh is temporary, but the machines endures. The Iron Hands become the Emperor's most ruthless engineers. They build weapons that win wars. They fight with cold, mechanical precision. They do not bend, they do not break. But Ferrus Manus has a weakness he refuses to see. He loves his brothers, especially Fulgrim. He forges Fulgrim a blade, a fire blade, a gift between egos. When Fulgrim tries to turn Ferrus to the Horus cause, Ferrus is enraged, not because of the betrayal of the Imperium, but because his brother would do this. He strikes Fulgrim, brawls with him, and then on Isstvan V, he charges straight into the killing ground, not for the Emperor, for revenge. And that emotion kills him. Isstvan V, the Drop Sign Massacre. The Iron Hands are the second wave. Ferrus Manus leads them personally. When the traitor guns open, World Eaters, Death Guard, Emperor's Children, Night Lords, War Bearers, Iron Warriors, Alpha Legion and all of them, the Loyalist formation collapses within minutes. Corax and Vulcan escape, most of the Legion do not. But Ferrus does not retreat. He fights his way to Fulgrim. 2 brothers, 1 blade. Fulgrim hesitates. For a heartbeat he almost lowers the demon blade, almost comes back. And then the demon inside the sword speaks louder. Fulgrim decapitates Ferrus Manus. The Gorgon's head falls to the ash. His silver body crumbles. The first Primarch to die in the Horus Heresy. Not in glory, not in sacrifice, but in rage. In the blind, burning fury of a brother betrayed. The Iron Hands see it happen. 10,000 astartes watch their Jinn father fall. And something inside them breaks them that never healed. The survivors, barely a fraction of this legion, retreat. The ones in orbit escape. The ones on the ground are massacred. Ferrus Manus' body is left on the killing field. His head becomes a Horus trophy. Later, Fulgrim will try to clone him, recreate him, offering the chance to turn, and the clone refuses. Fulgrim kills him again. The Iron Hands do not get a body to bury. They do not get a funeral. They get silence and ash, as knowledge that they were not strong enough to save him. After Isstvan, the Iron Hands are a shattered legion. No Primarch, no direction, just grief. Shadrach Meduson steps up, a captain of the clan Sorgol. He takes command of the survivor and joins the shattered legions. Iron Hands, Salamanders, Raven Guard fighting a guerrilla war beyond the traitor lines. He is brilliant, ruthless. He nearly kills Horus himself with a fighter ambush. He bleeds the traitor legion for years. And then his own brothers betray him. The Iron Father, the chapter emerging spiritual technological ruling class, decides that Meduson is too emotional, too human. They hand it over to the son of Horus, their own war leader, their own brother, given to the enemy because he still felt something. This is something that Iron Hands became what they are, not a legion, a grief cult. The Iron Father takes control. They forge a new doctrine from Ferrus Manus' old words. The flesh is weak, but they twist it. Ferrus meant that the flesh is temporary, so forge something that endures. The Iron Father decided flesh failed him. His emotion killed him, his rage, his love for Fulgrim. If Ferrus had been more machine-like, colder, harder, less human, he would have won. So they begin cutting. Systematic, ritualized, every iron hand replaces his flesh with bionics, not because he's injured, because he's guilty. The left hand first, the hand that failed to block the demon blade. Then the right arm, the arm that did not strike fast enough. Then the legs that were too slow to reach him. The heart that still grieves, still rage, still feels. You walk among the iron hands of Medusa today, and every astartes is a monument to self-punishment. They replaced their eyes because mortal eyes saw their Primarch die and did nothing. They replaced their lungs because mortal lungs breathed the ash of Isstvan V and kept living. Every bionic limb is a confession. I survived, I should not have. The Iron Father feel this. They are part tech marine, part chaplains. They stoke the rage, they fear the guilt, because a guilty man fights harder. A man who believes his flesh is a weakness will tear it off himself. And the worst part, it works. The Iron Hands become one of the most effective, most coldly lethal chapters in the Imperium. They do not hesitate, they do not mourn casualties. They calculate victory as an equation and they solve it with machines. Entire campaigns are decided by the Iron Hand strike force. They do not speak, they do not celebrate, they do not feel. They are terrifying, they are empty, and the thing growing in the emptiness has been waiting for 10,000 years. When Ferrus Manus dies on Isstvan V, the psychic shockwave of Primarch death rippled through the world. It was a scream of rage, betrayal, and grief so powerfully birthed a demon, the Sapphire King, a creature of Slaanesh, born from the exact emotion the Iron Hands refused to feel. For 10,000 years, he has fed on them. Every Iron Hand who buried his grief under a bionic steel, the grief went somewhere. It pulled, festered, grew. The Sapphire King drank it like a wine, and he whispered to them in the dark, told them that the cutting was righteous, told that they were almost pure enough, just one more limb, one more organ, one more piece of the humanity carved away. And in the 31st millennium, he made his move. The Gaudinian Heresy. Nearly a third of the Iron Hands chapter answered to the Sapphire King calls, and they did not even know it. They thought they were purging weakness. They thought they were following the Iron Creed to its logical conclusion, but they were marching to the Slaanesh arms. They were so hollowed out by self-hatred that a demon filled their empty space that they didn't even notice. The Iron Hands nearly tore themselves apart. Iron Father fought Iron Father, clan turned on clan. The very doctrine that made them strong, the flesh is weak, the bionic replacement, the endless cutting was the mechanism of their corruption. They were not betrayed from outside, they were eaten from within, by a monster their own grief created. Cardan Stronos hands the Gaudinian Heresy. He defeats the Sapphire King and then does something no Iron Hands has done in 10,000 years. He asks a question. What if the flesh is weak is wrong? Not tactically, but doctrinally. What if replacing flesh with metal did not make them stronger? What if they made them just hollow? What if the reason of the Sapphire King could not corrupt them was because they had to remove every piece of themselves they could resist? What if grief, real, felt, human grief, was not a weakness to be amputated but a wound they needed to be healed? The Iron Council does not want to hear this. Stronos is a radical, a heretic in the eyes of the Iron Fighters who have preached self-mutilation for 100 centuries. But he survives, and slowly, painfully, the chapter begins to change. Not entirely, there are still Iron Fighters who believe the only answer is more metal. There are still clans that cut deeper than ever, but Stronos has cracked the door open. And then there are the keys of hell. Ferrus Manus discovered them during the Great Crusade, Dark Age technology, and what they can do with this is bring the dead back. Not as astartes, as something else. Cybernetic resurrection. The dead walk again. Hollow, mechanical, obedient. Ferrus forbade their use, sealed them away, said no sons of the Iron Ten would never defile the dead. After Isstvan, some Iron Hands opened the keys anyway. They brought fallen brothers back. They told themselves it was necessity. They told themselves Ferrus would understand, but what they made were not astartes. They were revenants, zombie machines wearing the face of the dead. And the chapter has kept this secret buried deeper than any bionic implants, because if the Imperium knew, the Iron Hands would be declared heretic and purged. The flesh is weak, but what they replace it with is something worse. Ferrus Manus died in the first hour of the heresy. His sons have been dying ever since, one limb at a time, one organ at a time, one piece of the humanity carved away and replaced with steel. Not because it makes them stronger, but because they cannot forgive themselves for surviving. The Iron Hands are the most ruthless chapter in the Imperium, the most efficient, the most coldly, terrifyingly effective, and they are hollow. The Sapphire King was not an enemy at the attack from outside. It was their own grief left to rot for 10,000 years until it grew deep. The flesh is weak, but the machines cannot mourn, and a legion that cannot mourn never heals. So let me know in the comment if you believe the Iron Hands are stronger for abandoning their flesh, or if you believe they've been hallowing themselves for 10,000 years and the Sapphire King was the proof. As always, thank you for watching, I'll see you in the next one, don't forget to subscribe.